Hello and welcome. Now, a father once sent the son to go and buy a box of digestives. And then the son comes home and the father realizes that the date was obviously out of date. So sends the son back to the shop and tells the shopkeeper, my father says I should bring the biscuit back because it has expired. And he says, what do you mean by it has expired? So he looks at the box and says, best before last November. I say, well, go and tell your father it means it's better now. What are we talking about? We're talking about consumer protection. Isn't it one significant area that we have left literally unattended to? That as we speak now, there's no definite law that protects you or I as a consumer. And at every given time, whether you're buying, whether you're selling, you become a consumer at one point. And what protects you to make sure that your telecom services are being delivered, that even your shopkeeper is giving you the right product, and indeed, if it's out of date, it's out of date and it's not better now. Now, one person who's championed this cause is Kofi Kapito, and he's been very loud on this, and eventually, I think he's nearing a point where maybe this is going to be law. But then the difficulty now comes is the education for you to even know that it is your right. How many times haven't you heard, oh, we too know, and when it is absolutely your right? And that's what we're going to discuss today. With me in the studio from my far left is Engineer George Addo, who's a member of the Consumer Bill Implementation Committee. And then our one and only, my own brother, Kofi Kapito, CEO of Consumer Protection Agency. I have two more guests on the phone, Jerry Halm, who's the author of the book Customer Romance, and then I have a legal luminary who also joined us on the same issue. My name is Nanan Sakwa, and this is PM Express. I am sure if I were to open the phone lines, or obviously come and comment on Facebook, because I'll read it out to you, everyone has a host of nasty experiences that you've had in a shop, at a hotel, restaurant, in an office, and especially the ministries. I'm sure that's the worst culprit of them all, where you have not received your due as a customer. And maybe you are even a paying customer. And we need to put a bridge to it to make sure that it stops once and for all. Now, I'll introduce my guest again. Well, I got Engineer John Addo here. Engineer, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And then I got my brother Kofi here. Kofi, you're welcome.
No, thank you.
Now, I'll start with Engineer. Now, I'll let me throw it out a bit and come here. Engineer, if I were to walk into an African home or a Ghanaian home today, it could be a rural area, they would ask me, take a seat, I'll give you water, where have you come from, who do you need to see? I mean, they will take me through a series of traditions which are very warm and very welcome. If I were to go to an office and met the same girl who I saw in the house in the morning sweeping, who told me to sit because you're going to call your dad, can I give you water? He comes back and says, I'll go to the office and she'll be filing her nails and she won't look at me. What makes us change from that home settings, and when we get to the office, we're not hospitable anymore? I don't know if you've noticed.
Yes, I think that everybody tries to make a distinction between home and that which exists outside of the home. Mm-hmm. Outside of the home, the behavior changes. In the home, the person knows that it's not the Uga Kota in the house. Maybe daddy is there, that kind of thing. So they work and make sure that they enhance the traditional means of hospitality.
Okay, now let's come back to this bill. I mean, it's 2014, and considering that our prime business is buying and selling. So we are all, at the real hard end of, being consumers. We are all buying something one way or the other. Why haven't we gotten any law to protect us, So if I buy something, I can take it back or that. Why haven't we gotten a law?
Maybe the country has got some semblance of laws. They are not really like what is being produced at the present time. Mm-hmm. You have about standards, weights and measures. So you have the standards, used to be standards board, now standard authority. Mm-hmm. But they are not looking at the way the consumer protection thing is looking at those issues. Says that you ought to have standards, and that is their concern. So whether somebody is cheating you or not is not really what bothers them. The fact that there are references which you can cite if you are dissatisfied with something you bought, or you are interested in some activity which affects weights and measures. If you were to buy something, then the service provider who may be cheating you or that kind of thing, they will refer you to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's how it happens. But now, I think the attempt is to ensure that all of us, we go through maybe a commission or consumer protection commission, and then they can enforce the rules or laws which inure to the consumer.
Kofi, I can imagine, walking into a shop and buying a purple shirt and then go back and say, well, my wife didn't like the purple. Can I take the yellow one? you could end yourself in big trouble, even though you haven't worn the shirt.
Those are the kind of things that you and I, when we lived outside, we took for granted. The question is, I don't need to stress myself, especially when I come back to your shop in the same condition as you gave me, to return it back, even with a receipt to show that I did business with you. Let me take it back a little bit, whereby why the consumer needs to be protected. John F. Kennedy realized that when consumers are not protected, commerce does not prosper. So he decided that there are 4 thematic areas that was very, very important for the consumer to be protected. First one is the right to information, the right to be heard, the right for protection, and the right to justice. So if you put all these things in, that would ensure the playing field for everybody who is a consumer, whether the manufacturer, whether the buyer, or whether the end user. But the final person is the end user. So he took it upon himself, and it was adopted in the United Nations, where Ghana is also a signatory to it. Unfortunately, when we come home, like you said, you buy a purple shirt, it shouldn't be that difficult for you to go back to the store person and say, you know what, give me the yellow one because my wife likes to see me in yellow. Here, if you are not lucky, you might be insulted. Okay, but that is not how commerce is supposed to operate. If you do not allow commerce to be in the form that it should be, commerce will die. And that is why you see a business would just shoot up in Ghana, the next minute you turn around, it's out of business. Because the best thing for any business is what you call a repeat customer. If you don't have repeat customers, you don't have any business. So, and when I came back some time ago, I realized that one of the difficulties was the protection of the consumer. Respect was even out of the window. So I did my inquiries, realized that since 2007, there's been some document put together by the Ministry of Trade, who for the longest time has been trying to get this bill to Parliament. Not that they haven't tried, but it hasn't been easy for them. In consultation, back and forth, we chanced upon, or they gave us the draft policy that was in place. We took it to our lawyers for them to do a lot of additions, subtractions. We've done stakeholders consultation in the middle part of Ghana to the northern part of Ghana. We've done the southern part. I mean, it's taken us a while. This does not just happen last month. It's been a whole process with the support with a donor agency called BUSAC. And I'll say we are very, very grateful to them because even preparing this document is not an easy task. So we have gotten what is called, what can be turned into a law. We've given a copy to the Minister for Trade, his deputy, and they were very, very receptive. We are not the people who are going to actually be in charge of this law. There will be a consumer commission set up. As maybe in UK, they have the Better Business Bureau. In other jurisdictions in America, they have the Federal Trade Commission. So that people like my agencies and other consumer groups would have the need to go and report if a service provider, business is not conforming to the law that hopefully, if it's passed, would protect all of us.
It's a very good idea. Engineer, and I'm going to come to you and find out with the average citizen not knowing, his or her right. After we've gone through all this bill, is it going to become like the mental health bill, the disability bill, where even Parliament, where it was passed, don't have a disability access? I mean, is this going to be one of those things where, I don't even know my right to know whether, I can come back and demand a refund, or you've priced it wrongly, and that's as far as I'm a customer, that's the price I pay for. You don't come back and tell me that, oh, I priced it wrongly. That's not my business. You said it was 10 cedis. If you've left another zero, it's your business. I mean, can we get to that stage?
Yes, we could get to that stage where the law is there, but it is not effective because nobody is using it. If those who are appointed to man the commission do not have a new life to give to that body. The practice has been that we like positions. So I'm appointed. And that's the end of the story. I may not take the complaints that we are expecting they should be taking so that they can deal with those things. In fact, the lawyers have done a very good job. But it is not the end of the matter. It's rather the beginning of it. And we need to spread this information widely all the time so that people can begin to test the system. If we started to do that, I'm sure we'll all be very happy about that. As you started, I go and buy maybe some packet of biscuit. But sometimes it's not expired, but it's soft. It's no more crisp. I've taken maybe one bite. Say, oh, please, change this thing for me. So, no.
You've opened it.
You've opened it. That's it. But the law will not permit the provider to behave that way. Mm-hmm. And in fact, even the law is insisting that it should give you a receipt. Anything you buy, it should give you a receipt. Actually, it's a good idea. Because what it means is that there's record that he is selling something. You see, for the purposes of taxation and so on, it's good. It helps everybody. So we should support it.
Now, I think I got Jerry on the line now. Hello, Jerry.
Good evening.
Good evening. Jerry, I'm talking about a matter which is well within your jurisdiction. I mean, you have a book, Customer Romance, which is about consumer issues. Now, what a right book to write in this time of day when, I think I'm doing you a favor by coming to buy something in my shop or coming to my hotel. I'm literally doing you a favor. Jerry, can we get to the stage where, a customer literally, comes into a shop and spills something by accident and, well, because I spilled it in the shop, you can't charge me. I mean, can we get to that stage?
I'm praying with you, my brother. I'm really excited about your program. I'm following it. And for someone who just launched this book a few days ago on this whole issue of customer service and consumer issues, I'm ecstatic. Yeah, I will tell you. But after that, we'll get there. I think the discussion started. I'm listening to my senior colleagues in the studio, Kofi Capito, Mr. Engineer, and I think the day will come when we'll get there if we want to get there as a nation.
I see. I mean, I can imagine, because some of the entities that have to come together to make this thing work is the PURC, NPA, the police. All these guys have to come together to make it work. Now, I can go through all these things. I mean, this NPA, sometimes they've authorized gas stations really in precarious places, and you wonder, have they really measured, and these are all the people who have to come to make these things work. I mean, PRC recently, was defending ECG, couldn't understand why customers were complaining that, the electricity was erratic. I mean, I'm wondering, where do we start so that we get everybody harmonized, on one course?
I think Mr. Capito made mention of that. I think the beginning is the Consumer Protection Act, law, bill, whatever we want to call it. If we start from there, then we are compelled to go by the law. That should be the overriding aim for all of us now, so that we can, as a people, call upon that law. I think that is the first place we should start. And I was quite excited that Engineer and Mr. Capito spoke about it. I have a case in hand. I'm looking at the Kenyan situation where they have a strong advocacy in terms of consumer protection. And I asked myself, why can't we do the same in this country? And so I thought by the close of 2013, this very issue would have been solved, because I think I read somewhere that at the tail end of 2013, the Consumer Protection Bill was going to come into force. We're in 2014. I'm wondering what is happening. I can't wait for it, because if I have a backing of the law, my brother, I can actually go out there and, insist on my rights. But for now, without any law, the MPAs and the PURCs and Mr. Capito has done his best. He's told us to shut off our phones for some time and all that. And because it's just one man, we actually didn't listen to him. But if there's law, I'm pretty sure we would know what to do. So the beginning, as I keep saying, is let's get a legislative framework on which we can all stand to push for better consumer protection in this country.
Jerry, let me stay with you. I mean, the people invest and build really big businesses. How come they don't know that it's actually cheaper to keep a repeat customer than it is to find a new one? I mean, they should know that.
It's taken me 5 years of my corporate life to be asking this question every Monday morning in my column, and I've still not found the answers yet. I for one thought it was a cultural issue, so I'm really trying to see if it's cultural, because like we're saying, like my senior learned colleagues are saying, this is very fundamental. It is very fundamental. Repeat customers are the blood of every business. I have said several times that what my whole book sought to do was to try and convince business leaders that the age of concentrating on the particular transaction alone is gone. We are in an era of relationships. That is what the whole book on customer romance is about. And that people need to know that treat me well, I'll keep coming back and I'll make you a lot more money. But it's taken us years, and I'm sure with the conversation, people in positions of influence will be listening to us. But my brother, before I take leave of you, I want to talk about the importance of the media in this whole fight. The media is very, very important. We cannot do away with the media, because the issue of you made mention of something very brilliant. That what if I don't know my rights?
Yeah.
Now, this is where the comprehensive education of the entire population is coming, and that is where the media will play a very important role. So, if as and when the bill goes through and we come to the media houses, they should also see this as their CSR, their corporate social responsibility, not to be charging us for the time they will use to promote this, because we all need to do this. And a better consumer protection system for the whole country will benefit everybody. It will benefit everybody.
I'm going to take a quick break, but when I come back, I want to find out, if this thing sets off, is it going to be a point where somebody goes to buy cassava and goes back and says, hey, auntie, give me some of the cassava back because when I went, 3 of the tubers were not working properly? Or are we just going to limit it to the 5-star and the flagship institutions? Stay tuned. I want to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll find what the answer is. Well, just before the break, I was just trying to find out that once consumer protection, there's a law backing this, it becomes legal. Are we, going to go to town and then where you go to the market and, buy 3 pieces of cassava and go back to the lady and say, hey, give me my cassava back because the law is backing me? Kofi, I mean, is that what we're going to do, or is it just going to be limited to the 5-star?
What is interesting about our market is even our mothers in the malates and the small markets knows how to treat their customers better than the big department stores. Because if you go, the first thing she will say, customer waba. That makes you feel comfortable. You walk into any of these multinational big stores, they behave as if, what the hell are you doing there? But that little woman in that little shed somewhere realized the importance of you coming to her. Because there's competition. I'll tell you a story. When Kumasi has little kids, actually, my older brother used to tell a story that when they were in school, in front of Kumasi Market, they had a line of Chinkafa people who were selling in front. And because they were competing for you, they would tell you, come and taste, come and taste, come and taste. After tasting about 20, you are full, and then you go. But at least you would taste one that you like. So next time that you want to buy, you go and buy. Let me just take through some of the things that we looked. We looked at where we have to give receipts, warranties, damaged goods, the return of damaged goods sold to consumers, return of electrical goods. Electrical goods is one area that in Ghana, we're not even looking at it. You buy something, you go, they say, Masa, 1 year, 2 years. But there's a law or there's a time frame that you can return. Approved or non-approved services. Businesses offering repair services. In Ghana, they behave as if the moment you bring the iron there and the thing does not work, it's not his duty. There's misleading of adverts. That is where some of you get in trouble, whereby you will swear under the sun that even the man that brought you the advert cannot even guarantee that, but you will tell me that that's what it is. All these things are very, 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 very risky. So, I mean, in one breath, I'll say we've done an extensive cross-board to cover everybody, not just goods, services as well. Because when you tell me you will deliver this iPad to my house tomorrow and I pay you at a certain time and you don't deliver it, you owe me some explanation or some compensation. It's all covered. You go to the ministries, just basic hello is not even there. All these things is covered here. But what I want Ghanaians to understand is until we ask our parliamentarians to keep asking for the minister to bring this bill to cabinet so that cabinet would also push it to the floor, it will probably still stay in the ministry that is been standing there since 2007. This is 2014. I think if we push hard enough, by the end of the year, we can do something.
Have I got you? Jerry, have I got you?
Yes, I'm still here.
Jerry, very good. I've just listened. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, still go there. From what Kofi just said, you see, you would need the businesses themselves to want to look after their customers. Otherwise, we will forever be policing and chasing, and then it will never sort of see, the light of day. I mean, haven't we gotten where the customer themselves is serious about, the business is serious about CRM rather than, Kofi Capito chasing them that look after your customer?
Well said, my brother. I think we all concede to the fact that, yes, policy and legislation alone cannot provide that cover that we need for the Ghanaian consumer. It is a fact. But businesses must know. We must, when the customer starts asking for something and the business fails to give and the customer moves to the competition, a business will listen. A business will listen. So to me, it's, yes, the legislation is all right. With the wonderful work that folks like Mr. Capito have done, I think it is something, like he's saying, we should push for it because it is in our interest. We are not pushing for it because we are really not aware that it's going to protect us. But going forward, I think, like you said, the business community itself must know that, listen, a time is going to come when you cannot keep bullying customers forever. A time is going to come where a customer is going to know his or her rights, and it's either you give me or I poach. I mean, in a general sense. So we believe that as business people, for instance, I happen to be the head of marketing and corporate affairs for a bank, and when a protection bill like this is coming, personally, it would send me back to my staff and say, hey, folks, the time we've been misbehaving is far gone. Now, let's get back on our toes because we not only have the competition to deal with, we also have the law to deal with. So business people, I'm sure when the law is passed, we will sit up.
Let me bring Engineer in here. Engineer, we have 6 telcos, but they still are not behaving as if, they're still behaving as if they are all individual. It's like, if you want to go. I mean, you hardly port your number and your old, guys ring you to say, oh, look, we realize you've changed your number. Did we do something wrong? I don't know if anybody's ever been called, but I know a few people who've changed from this company to that company, and the old company never even calls to say, oh, excuse me, were you unhappy? What did you do? What can we do to keep you? It's like, if you want to go, there's somebody else. So, I mean, it's not, they don't get...
I also ported my number. Yeah, you are right. The experience, they didn't care.
No, you know the reason why. The reason being is, this is the only country, like I'm glad that Jerry is talking about how the bank that he works for looks for retaining the customers and adding on. What I realized that companies in Ghana tends to be comfortable with the numbers that they have. Yeah. In business, you need to kill your competitor. In Ghana, they are okay with the numbers. I mean, like you mentioned that telcos, everybody is comfortable with having 1 million, somebody has 11 million, somebody has 5. But if this had been any other jurisdiction, do you know why Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola has wars? Because one wants to kill the other person. But in Ghana, they are comfortable until the best way for a consumer to make any business pay is when you walk with your money away from them. Then they will listen, because every shareholder depends on how much money the company makes. If they realize that share dropped, what caused the shares to drop? Or because maybe some manager or some board decision did not sit well with customers, I can guarantee you things will change. Like I'm saying, the businesses, especially the multinationals, my biggest challenge with them is when I travel outside and I engage them, I feel happy to do business with them. But when I come back to Ghana, and these same companies are in Ghana, and they are the corporate image of the mother company outside Ghana, but it looks like in Ghana, they don't even care. Because there's no way that, and this is what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start putting these multinationals on the internet to let their mother companies know the abuse and the disrespect that they are giving to their customers here in Ghana. No business wants a negative publicity.
Let me, now I'm going legal, right? Now, Jerry, let me take you up on this one. So let's say I go into a shop and I buy something worth 100 Ghana cedis. And then I go home and it's not working, so I want to take it back. He says no. For me to take this guy to court, I must have at least 3,500 Ghana cedis just to get a lawyer and to get a legal proceedings going. So you might give up, even though there's the law backing you, you might give up on the start because you don't even have the money to drag it to court. Or engineer wanted to take that.
Well, I was going to say that in the provisions here, it's not the consumer who goes to court. You go to the commission.
The commission.
In the commission's business to take the thing up or deal with it by itself. That's how it works. So the customer would have to pass through the commission.
And then the commission
will decide whether,
suing.
yes, he can do his own investigations and later find that maybe you have to go to court.
Oh,
Deal with
okay.
it that way.
Okay, well, that's reassuring then because
Yes,
I panicked a bit thinking
No, because
most people...
it's just like the PRC is supposed to be doing. It's just like the NCA is supposed to be doing. Just like the Food and Drugs Authority. Just like the Standards Authority. Ideally, if I have any issue or if anybody has an issue, your first point of call should be the Food and Drugs. I'll give a typical example. Today, I was at NCA, and I'm glad they're doing something about a particular telco who has decided that actually to take advantage of Ghanaians. Where in the world do you do conditional sale when you don't have to? But we've allowed a telco in Ghana to do conditional sale.
Yeah.
Okay, but the NCA is very much on their heels and they are and they are going to make them stop. If that happens, why do I have to go to court? So if the commission is there to see that all these things, which is the law, given to a commission, just like any institution, like how the Shraj acts with the law. So if the commission has the law backing them, I think people would really listen to the commission.
Let me say thank you and goodbye to Jerry now. And then I will get Theodore Ademazoya. Yeah, I mean, he'll join us later, who's a legal practitioner, because I think once this becomes law, apart from land cases, the next that will be in our law courts will be customer service cases, because we are all guilty at one point or the other. When I come back, we'll be speaking to a legal practitioner to find out how they're going to deal with this. Is there going to be swift courts to handle these issues? 2 minutes, I'll be back. Yeah.
So.
Hello, and we're looking at consumer protection in Ghana, or the lack of it. And just before Nuruna said that we're going to speak to a legal brain to see how this is going to work. And joining us on the phone now is Theodore Ademazoya. Theodore, good evening.
Good evening.
So we're looking at consumer protection. Obviously, there's a bill here which you've helped, draft. And I was just saying that probably if this thing comes to pass, apart from land cases in our courtrooms, I think this is going to be the next on the list, with people flogging you on a daily basis who've been upset at the restaurant, bad goods sold to them, false advertising. How are you going to handle this?
Thank you very much. For a lot of the things that the ordinary consumer is confronted with today are either a creation of the liberalization policies that we've had since the late 1980s. Post the liberalization process, the legal regime has not been able to catch up with the processes that came with opening up our markets to external forces, allowing for goods from other parts of the world to come within the Ghanaian economy. That creates a big problem and a vacuum that allows all of us who are consumers of basic products and goods or the users of services to be handicapped to some extent. The draft bill that is currently the subject of discussion attempts to create a framework that would allow for the ordinary consumer to be protected in respect of the supply of goods and the provision of services, so as to ensure that we protect life, health, and safety. It's important that from our daily interactions, either as buyers or sellers, and let me say that from a practitioner's point of view, or a lawyer's point of view, we do not aim to use this law to undermine business. The law attempts to create a framework that will allow for honest business practices to be undertaken while allowing for the protection of the interests of the ordinary people of Ghana who are the users of goods and services. For that purpose, we create a regime that will balance the rights of those who will be undertaking the activity of providing us with goods and services and allowing business to flow, as well as create the same environment that will not allow for people who want to take advantage of the business environment.
Theodore, I agree with you, but what I'm saying is, if you look at our attitude towards customers, most businesses fall short. The telcos, the hotels, go to the airports, the shops. How are you going to deal with all the influence? Now that I know that, it's my right, I haven't been treated fairly, let me go and get, sue you for my 100 cedis or my 200 cedis. Are we making provisions for that to be able to handle the complaints?
Yes, to a large extent. A greater part of the provisions that this bill attempts to address is dedicated to education. The ordinary Ghanaian, beyond mere stipulations in the rules that you are entitled to this particular right or that you have a responsibility, can only access that particular right or acknowledge that responsibility if he is fully educated and aware of those rights and responsibilities. Consumer education is a very key part of this process, and as part of the institutions that is going to be established under this particular law is a Consumer Protection Commission that will be dedicated solely for the purpose of advancing consumer education, that will aim at changing the attitudes of the ordinary people and business people in various aspects of our economy, and attempting to ensure that, at least to a certain extent, the people who are affected by the daily provision of goods and services actually understand the rights that they have and may be able to access those rights, or at least to a large extent be able to make a complaint for the Commission to investigate same. I'm sure that beyond education at those levels, which is at the levels that we have, we are pushing so hard to get education at the lower level, which is the grassroots level, to ensure that from our basic curriculum that we have at the basic school, the kids get to understand that as they grow and they form part of the consuming population, they are entitled to have information in respect of anything at all that they purchase or some other person purchases for them. And don't let us forget that for the purposes of this discussion, every Ghanaian is a consumer, whether or not even at a particular point you are providing a service or not. As we wake up on our daily basis, either in our homes, wherever we wake up from, we use the services of other people. We buy products from other people. We may even be the service providers, but we enjoy the use of services of other people as well. And it's important that as we aim to achieve good, satisfactory service delivery ourselves, we expect other people to return to our satisfactory treatment. And this law will aim to ensure that education continuously will be geared towards addressing these attitudes that work and are inimical to the ordinary interests of our consumers.
Lawyer, I'll keep you on. And normally laws like this, as soon as you're talking, automatically I'm thinking Accra, Cape Coast, Kumasi, Tamale. What happens to my village in Edumasa? You know, I mean, what happens to customer service there? Even though normally we only think about the capitals. I mean, have we made provisions so that the rural areas where the midwife hasn't treated somebody fairly can also, you know, access legal help to make sure that he or she, you know, gets equity?
From a policy perspective, the policy on consumer protection actually has some provision that addresses this. But for a start, for the purposes of this law, there is provision that is made there that requires that anybody who seeks service at any point in time has the right to information in respect of the service that they have, and that the service provider is required to explain to that person in a language that the person understands the particular service or product that the person is buying or using. So for a start, I think that once the legal framework it gets in place, the nitty-gritties of getting the ordinary lady who is in the village and may not be able to read and write, or my grandfather or grandmother who are in the village and may not even have access to anything like a TV station or a radio, that they get to understand that as consumers or users of our market, they are entitled to some little information in respect of the things that they acquire or the services that they use. And I think that the program that you are hosting at the moment aims to also achieve this purpose by at least enlightening your listeners and viewers this evening that they are entitled to have some information. And I think that the users or the of services or buyers of goods, if they get that information right, that it's important that they are entitled to this and they demand it, the service providers may not change their attitudes. And the people of Ghana need to demand more from the service providers and providers of goods and services to the people of Ghana.
Theodore, thank you very much. Let me bring Kofi in here. Kofi, so it's like selling a financial product to a customer, you know, the FSA. You need to go through all the rules, the do's and don'ts, everything to the customer before you even sell the service to this customer. Is that what you're bringing?
No, there are some things that I think if I go to a hospital and I'm going to access the usage of the hospital, as a patient, I'm entitled to some basic information, which if the hospital has to give and they don't give, it becomes a problem. This is the only country that they can give you an injection without even telling you whether you're going to have some reaction to it or not. In most jurisdictions, you'll be educated as to what injection is going to be given to you, what medications are you on, that they might even, you know, cross each other to cause a reaction. All these things is done in other places. I don't see why it's that difficult. Our doctors are well educated. Our nurses are well educated. I don't see why if my grandmother, who does not speak, understand English, cannot have some nurse who can relate to her in the language that she or he might understand. So this is nothing scientific. We've done it before. Okay.
So when it becomes law, then the nurses are now obliged by law to explain.
The question is, they're already supposed to. But because, you know, there's not any written law to hold a hospital. We are in a country that we hear that babies are missing from hospitals, the wrong leg is being amputated, and people don't even have any redress or any cause to be compensated. All these things, when it comes, I'm sure it's going to reduce it. I'm not going to say we won't see any incidents anymore, but when people are more aware of what can be, whether they can be taken to court or there's a financial implications, they tend to be a little bit more cautious when they give you goods and services.
Engineer, it all boils down to enforcement. Enforcement, which is one thing that we are very, very, very weak at, is to enforce our laws. I mean, this is one beautiful law written, you know, but then we have to enforce it. How are we going to make this different than the other ones we have, you know, already done?
This is the challenge. So we are all hoping that maybe this time around, those people who get the opportunity to man the commission will be alive to their responsibilities. Because if we follow the path long established, we will not get very far with this. So it's a prayer. We have to pray, all of us.
Believe it or not,
like I'm saying, listen, let me say, thanks to Bushak, like I said, this thing hasn't been an easy thing. Even the government of Ghana, like I said, since 2007, it's not that they haven't tried. But if you don't put your shoulder to the wheel and push it, sometimes it becomes difficult. So, like I'm urging every Ghanaian, when you meet your MP, ask him or her, you've heard that some bill is supposed to come and protect me. How far? Where is the bill? So that at least they will also ask questions in Parliament. So that it will become...
Folks, thank you very much for tuning in. I want to say thank you to Engineer John Addo. Thank you to Kofi Kapito and all our friends who joined us on the phone on this topic. But believe me, it's a very important bill, and I think we should all back it, because in the end, I think most of the time we are more consumers than we are, providers. So it will come to back us all. And as I said, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thank you.